How often have you been on YouTube or Facebook or some other venue and you are judging and condemning a false religion, Islam, Mormonism, what have you, or you're condemning a certain lifestyle like homosexuality, and people, many folk like to respond with, how dare you judge them? Who are you to judge? We're not allowed to judge people. Now, sadly, much of this, if not most of this, comes from professing Christians. They will then go to Matthew 7:1, which is probably the second most well-known verse in all of Scripture, second to John 3:16. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Well, I'm making this video for you guys. Well, for both classes or groups of people. Those who judge and those who condemn judging. Making this so sometimes you don't always feel like typing out a response. So I'm making this video so if you don't feel like typing out a response, just send them this link. That's all you have to do. So let's take a look at one of the most abused texts in all of Scripture. Let's read it. Matthew 7:1 through 6. Do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give that which is holy to dogs, and do not cast your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Now, these people only know verse 1, do not judge lest you be judged. They never read the following verses. That is, they never consider the context. What is being condemned here is hypocritical judgment. Not judgment across the board, but hypocritical judgment as it is seen in verse 5 when Christ says, you hypocrite. Okay, basically what is happening here is people who are judging others for something that they themselves are doing. For instance, if I were married and I was looking at having a conversation with a friend that is married as well, and let's say we were both cheating on our wives, it would be hypocritical of me to judge him, to condemn him for cheating on his spouse, all the while I'm doing it. So that is what is meant by pointing out the speck in your brother's eye when you have a log in your own. Now notice it says, first remove the log that you have, then you can point out their speck. In other words, it's actually specifically telling us to judge, but we have to first remove the very sin that is part of our own lives. Then make the judgment. And then again, notice in verse 5, Jesus says, you hypocrites. He judged them as hypocrites. Okay? So, first off, it's very interesting that individuals would quote this verse, judge not lest ye be judged. Now, mind you, they're judging you when they do that. Okay? They're saying, you can't judge anybody, and I'm going to judge you for judging people. And what's ironic about that is, well, aside from the obvious, what's ironic about it is that the very judgment that this text is condemning is hypocritical judgment. And when these individuals judge you for judging, they are committing a hypocritical judgment. So they actually stand condemned when they quote this verse. And then further in verse 6, it says, do not give that which is holy to dogs, and do not cast your pearls before swine. Well, in order to obey this command, to follow this command of Christ, You have to judge someone as a dog or a pig in order to know whether or not you should cast pearls before them. So this, just real quick, I wanted to do. So if you don't feel like typing out a response, just send them this link. They are judging you for judging, thus they are hypocrites, therefore they stand condemned by the very text they're quoting, and yet the text itself is actually approving of judging people. Remove the log out of your own eye, then you can make the judgment. Thanks for watching.